Okay, so let's see. Next shot. Next shot has some animation. So we actually need these two frames, and the likelihood is going to be that we're going to have to put some extra in between. So let's do a clone. And then let's grab these guys and make them a sub X sheet. And we don't really need those frames there. And let's drag this over to here. And that looks pretty good. Okay. So now she's going to need some mouth action, obviously, as well. But I guess one question has been, do we want to drag ourselves to the top? And I'm going to say yes. Alright, save all. Okay. So this is one of those moments where I sit and stare at the screen for a minute. Okay, so it would seem to me, let me see what happens if we... Okay, so she says, you're correct about that. Actually, why do we have... This seems like it should be... Let's... Seems like we should be using this shot. Control up. There we go. That shot right there. What picture is that? That's CL48. Golly. I actually think what I really should do is grab this, steal the mouth shapes. Can I do this? Can I duplicate into a sub-X sheet? No. Won't let me do that. Okay. So this is kind of an interesting conundrum. 349. So really we want this to be 348. And it won't let me do that, I guess, because it's a clone? So if we go to the drawings, let's go ahead and open an X sheet. An extra X sheet so that I can see, get a better idea of what's going on here. So I'm going to go to the ink layer. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of interesting. It's concerning, actually. Oh, there it is. Okay. Getting worried there for a second. So what I really want to do is I really want to add 348 to this channel strip, or this strip, and that is an interesting conundrum. Never quite run into this situation before. Okay, so to restate the problem, what I want to do is I want to leverage the work I did here into this column here, and there's a number of ways I could do that. One way would be to simply do it at the editing stage. You know, come into Blender. There's really no reason that I couldn't just use this clip again, you know, the first little bit of it, and then switch to this clip. But that's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is excuse me, have a little more control. So what I really want to do is grab this and get these cells into the other sub-X sheet, because also it would allow me to use the mouth shapes. So yeah, this is definitely a situation I've never encountered before. So it's kind of interesting. what I want to do, ideally, is there any reason why? Okay, so this is, let's look at these level settings. Okay, this is bo clone 1.tlv. So now what I'm going to do, I think I can make this work by just grabbing the actual TLV files. So to be accurate, in here we've got drawings. That's where the TLV files go. And in pre-fight dialogue, we've got bo clone. So here it is. I'm just gonna, yeah, and a bunch of them have been renamed. So this is clone 1 with its with its palette, which will get pulled in automatically if I drag this. So I think what I can do here is just drag this particular TLV file, and by the way, what I'm going to do is just make a note. Okay, and this is from, okay, so this is definitely interesting. This is from pre-fight dialogue, and this is from the battle. And this is Mouth's clone. Those are both from the battle. So the clunkiest thing here is that I've got to go in here. This is one of those things that it's, you know, it's taking a bit of time the first time I do it here, obviously, but okay, that looks pretty good. Wonder what happens if we change the DPI on that. Yes, okay, so I'm just spitballing here on what the DPI should actually be. Totally winging it. I'm going to switch it back to 120, and I can always scale it up. Okay, so now the question becomes, if we know for a fact we're going to use it up north, why not just drag it up to here? Okay, now my question, and by the way, this one is bo clone 7, so it does get a little confusing when you have to do what I'm doing right here. This is like the worst thing you could have to do, which is grab a bunch of levels and clones from different you know, cloned sub-X sheets, and, you know, bring them all back together. I don't imagine this is going to come up that often, but now that I see what to do, it's not that big of a deal. So again, we'll go down into here, and then what we need to do is we need to go to the battle, which is the battle right there. And then what I want is BX clone 1 and Mouth's clone. BX clone 1 and Mouth's clone. Okay, no problem. BX clone 1 and I'm just clicking the M key to jump down to Mouths. Okay, so now we have all these mouths, of which there are actually, looks like there's a lot of eyebrows baked into that level as well, which is fine. Okay, so this needs to be stretched out to there and dragged up to here. Okay, so now we have that and that happening. The only difference, the only change being, and let's turn the mouths off so we're not being distracted by it. Okay, so it looks to me like there is, okay, so there was some additional work done on the shadow, so, and that's fine. The upshot of the story is that she is, um, she's got the light essentially coming in and down at her. So I would say that the lighting here makes more sense than the lighting here to a degree. But we're going to definitely want to match this rim shadow. So, okay. That's fine. Looks to me like that shadow might be slightly darker too. But that gets us kinda sorta to where we need to be. Everything there is sized properly. So now let's see, where are the mouths that are of interest to us. Guess it doesn't do us any good if we don't turn the mouths on. And okay, so I want to look back here. So I'm beginning to doubt that this is actually the correct TLV file. It might be. So we've got, I'm just looking at what the mouth shapes are. There's one that's kind of trapezoidal that should stick out like a sore thumb when I get to it. And I'm not actually seeing that. So I think that this is not helping us. So what I'm going to do is just get this sort of equalized, and now we can go ahead and grab this and up here. This would be the eyebrows. Yes, eyebrows here. It appears to me that her eyebrows might be kind of sort of baked in, and that's okay. So I wonder why this said, oh, I see, because this actually was the mouth level to explain. I had some eyebrows baked into my mouth level, arguably erroneously. Okay, so what needs to happen here is we've got to get the timing. So you are correct. I'm going to go for that, and let's see how that feels. I'm going to go another half a second. Well, actually a quarter of a second, sorry. Okay, so we'll go here, B key, and use our handy dandy pencil, quick eraser. Whoast! That's strange. Well, probably that'll do the trick, yeah. So now we want to just kind of tone that down a little bit and maybe give it just a little bit of tonality. Just a little bit. We don't want it too saturated though. Okay. Okay. So now this is a matter of, let's see, B. What I'm finding with lip sync is you want to really keep it very what's the word? Coarse? You do not ever want to try to match the lip sync, you know, exactly. You just want to hit the high points. So here, you know, arguably what we could do here is, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and cut it, and then I'm going to go like this, And then I'm going to add a drawing here. S key V. Okay, so what would we do here? Okay, and I'm not trying to pretend this is going to be correct at all. But if she's saying you are correct about that, we're trying to get you are correct about, you are okay. So I think my sense is that the granularity here is going to be too detailed. But let's see how it feels. Yeah, it's too slow. Okay, and so the problem is if you actually make it fast enough, is it going to wind up having too many mouth shapes? So it looks chattery. I mean, basically, I don't know what other word to use. Chattery, I guess, is a good word. Okay, so now I want to just stop. We got to go back to the top here, and this really needs to be at frame 1. Okay, so this is the B is definitely happening too soon. So let's just do that. My bad. That wasn't the B. That was the shape after the B. And the B being a consonant. So I'm actually learning here in real time as I go about lip sync. Consonants can hold for only a couple frames. Vowels are where you want to stretch it out. Okay, I'm going to object to this one. I really think this should actually be number 13. So probably the easiest way to fix this is going to be to drag this over. Oh, come on now, really? Stretch this down and then drag it back. Okay, this is definitely occurring too fast. So let's do 4 frames. Okay, there's something missing right here. I really wish when I switch to a different drawing here that it didn't insert the old one below. I wish it would just change this to number 7 all the way through to here, because that's actually what I want. You often have to compensate for that choice that it made. Okay, this is just a little too early. We need this shape. B. Okay. Let's get that. And then we'll put this. I don't know if that quite worked. Yeah, frankly, this would be better here, and I don't think the teeth thing is working. Here should be the flat mouth. Okay, this I don't care about at this point. So let's put the stop marker there. Okay. So what seems to be proving true is that 2 frames on a consonant really is not enough. Okay. B. Okay, there's the B. The B's happening too soon. And unfortunately now it's too late. So 2 frames can make a difference timing wise. Okay, the B seems to be happening just a little too late. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so obviously the big problem here has to do with mainly her shadow, because we'll see if we take the shadow out, basically it's fine. So let's put the shadow in, and I say what we do is let's delete that, stretch this shadow all the way to the bottom here, and then we'll put in a duplicate there, and let's not do anything with that yet. Okay, so now we need to erase this bit of silliness. Okay, what's going on here? This should be this brush, and it appears Control Z, undo. Okay, what's going on here? What appears to be going on here is, for whatever reason, I was going to say that my paint brushes don't seem to be working, but let's use this one and see what happens. That one seems to be fine. Okay, let's go back a drawing. And by the way, what if this was smoothed out just a little bit? I'm thinking that's not a bad idea. I'm thinking that's a good idea. Okay, so we're going to use the fact that I'm stuck with a different brush to our advantage. Okay, so S key, Control C. Next drawing, Control V. Lock that in. Okay, and now what we want to do is adjust this like so. Okay, we'll deal with her eyebrows shortly. Okay. And I guess we're going to have to shrink this down. Okay, so one thing I want to consider here is bringing down the alpha on the shadow color just a bit. Okay, so now the question is, what do we do here? Well, let's look at these drawings. It looks to me, yeah, we're not really moving the... It looks to me like she doesn't really change much, so I guess we could do a... Let's do a duplicate. And then let's grab the S key and grab everything. And then probably, where's our... Okay, it's Murphy's Law of mind-numbingly stupid, is that this is like the first time ever that I can't see the freaking center point. I can see these extents. There it is. Okay. I'm going to put the center point right there. And I just did it on the wrong level. Duh. Which means I have to do it all over again. And part of it didn't get selected. I probably shouldn't be using my mouse right now. Let's put that there. And it's pretty close. If we take this, kind of sort of do something like that. So I'm just gonna give myself a moment to massage it, and then basically give up and say, all right, this is stupid, let's just repaint it. Okay, so B key, we want the shadow, and I assume that I've got this masked out in the schematic view, but I don't know for a fact that I do, so I'm gonna have to check that as well. Okay, let's zoom in and see what we really have here, because there could be a fair amount of violence that we've done to our drawing. It's going to have to be fixed up, and it looks like there definitely is. So B key, ba, ba, ba. This looks fine, fine. Okay, what we want to do is keep it coarse. Keep it coarse, not too detailed. Otherwise you invite chatter and whatnot. Okay, we're going to have to put the reflections in her eyes as well. Okay, so now is this on this level? Indeed it is. Okay, so that's fine. So what we want to do is, there's specular big and specular small. Should be white, yes. So B key. I believe previously it was on that side, so I guess for the sake of consistency, one thing that seems to be pretty obvious is this was probably at 0. And I'm going to hit the V key so that we're filling in. Sometimes, because OpenToonz has a really actually pretty darn smart way of keeping tracks of excuse me, keeping track of lines, so that you can do what I did with the alpha here a few minutes ago, for example, and sort of change colors after the fact. Because it does that, that also means that when you go in to paint over something with the brush, sometimes it's a little resistant. I mean, if you do it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And that's when it's useful to use the paintbrush tool instead of the regular brush, because then it's just real straightforward. It's either gonna change the lines or the areas, and it can be made to pretty much override everything else. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but if you got into it and started fiddling around with trying to deal with well, what I just did, where you're modifying a shadow area or a highlight where, you know, where there's lines already in there that kind of sort of want to persist. It's a little bit clunky. Okay. Well, now the question, which is begged, is do we need a tween? And I'm going to say we definitely need a tween. So from here to here, I'm going to turn the shadows off, because invariably I think we're going to just wind up duplicating. So I'm going to do a duplicate drawing here, hit the S key, and let's just go ahead, select our girl. Again, it's monumentally difficult to see this. I guess that would be a, for me, might be a feature request, would be to make that a heck of a lot more easy to see. Now I'm going to turn on I'm going to turn on the onion skins, which I usually don't use onion skinning like ever. Very little. But this will definitely help. Yeah, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, let's just use the old, slice them up technique. Alright, so let's turn the mouth layer off. Back to here. And then what I'm going to do is, again, hit the S key. I'm just going to cut that out. Kind of put the pivot point in sort of the obvious place. Now what's changing for me is that the more of this stuff I do, the more I'm finding that I really want to get things settled at the pencil test stage more than I have, I think. Let me check something here. See, that's reading as the skin. It's actually not picking up this color right here, which is kind of a drag. Let me see. And it doesn't really do me any good to make that darker either. What is this, I wonder? Okay, that's a perfectly black. Okay, so what's strange here is that this color, as you can see, is perfectly black. This is sort of stuff I'm just kind of figuring this out live on YouTube is what I'm doing, more or less. What's strange is this is perfectly black, and I hit the B key. Let's turn pressure off and see what happens. Okay. Okay. Now it seems to be behaving itself more. So we'll go with it. When things start working, you go with it. That's what you do. So what I want to do is turning the pressure off so I get a really firm line here. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. We got to close those up, obviously, so we can color those in, but I think that'll be a good tween. Alright, so we've got her arm here, and we never see her hand. So, shall we? Why not? Let's just draw a real simplified. Okay, I didn't quite like that line. She's not exactly beefy, but she's not exactly scrawny either. Okay. Let's do the old fill operation. Alright, let me just check here. Okay. So I'm just gonna... I don't like that. Where the heck's it leaking? I don't like that either, actually. Well, while I'm here, by the way. I don't know, when I get cracking on the next segment, I may very well be using the art tool with a standard Toons raster level. In other words, no my paintbrushes for inking. I'm gonna play with it because I'm not totally convinced that the way I'm doing it is the best, but that shouldn't be a shock since I've publicly changed my mind about several things just in the last couple days. So you know, Control Z, or I should say Z. We're just filling in. Okay, why that got rid of... Okay, so here's what I have to do. I'm going to hit the H key. Yeah, this is definitely strange. I wonder if I turn these guys off, if I'm just seeing things wrong here. Okay, what I want to do is sample that. Okay, Nighty and Iris. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill that just so that's done. Okay, that fixed the skin there. So good. Good. Okay. Okay, that was stupid. Let me see if I fill that in. That's exactly what I thought would happen. But if I take color 0 and do that, okay, that solved it. Okay. Okay. Skin. Gosh. Let's use the paint roller and just paint over that. Okay, and then let's go back in here with this and oop. Okay, same situation again, I would say. B key, ink pencil, let's just see. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, the volume of her arm is obviously screwy as can be. Very screwy. I'm going to see if I can fix it in kind of a... I just want to give her a little bit more volume. Because right here, I mean, look at that. That looks stupid as can be. I'm going to actually select this. Control C and go back here. Control V and actually just try to paste this in such a way as to boink, salvage it. Okay, so now she looks too strong. Yeah, I blew it. I blew it. It's just right. You gotta turn it enough. That's looks pretty close. Yes, that's better. Okay, so now all I have to do is a little bit of fixie-uppy down here with the paint brush tool, and I guess I could just hand paint this as well as long as I'm here. Okay, sehr gut. Let's turn the shadows back on. Oh, come on. You're not allowed to click what you want to click, sir. You've been disincliculated. Okay. 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 D key. S key, select all. Let's take the center, put the pivot about here, and hope for the best. 614. Got a call coming in. I had a guy call me yesterday about a radio jingle. So I may have to fly the coop, as they say here, in a minute and go address that phone call. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and look at my effects, schematic, and let me see if, yeah, okay. Okay, so what I'm looking at is up here, I want to be in the effects schematic actually, and I am incorrect. I could have checked this, by the way, by just going like this, just looking at what it looks like when it's rendered. And of course you can't really tell with the background turned on, but you can see that the shadows are bleeding over her body, and that's because we need to take the shadow layer, which is column 4, and we need to multiply it by the Akari layer, which is column 3. Alright, so here we're going to add a layer blending INO, multiply, like so. This line, this connection, of course, needs to be deleted. And then if we come back here, we can see that clipping mask is selected, which means that now, when we turn on the render, by the way, okay, you can see that the shadow is clipped to her body, which is what we wanted. So, good, good, good. All right. There's definitely a few more things to fix here. So what's the big takeaway today? For me, the big takeaway is that we are definitely seeing that just the process of trying to polish this stuff up and, you know, get it into a finalized state for cutting it into the show takes a lot of time. You're not, you know, if you're gonna do an animation, if you're gonna make a cartoon, a show, whatever, you know, it's the sticks and balls go fast. For me, actually, pencils go fast. So creating the animatic goes fast. Ink and paint is okay, but you want to have your eyes wide open to understand that this finalization process, to really do it right, get things to where they need to be, you're not going to like just zip through in 5 seconds and have it done. Now, this is not a shock to most people because everybody knows that animation is hard and takes a long time. But you know me, I'm like always trying to figure out what's the most efficient way to do this so that it doesn't take a long time, because I gotta do it all myself, right? Frankly, this sequence right here, I have to say, is one of the, I mean, it's a remnant of an earlier period, and I can't wait to have it behind me. I mean, it's actually tempting to just redraw the whole thing. I mean, you can see some really stupid stuff going on here. Look at her chin. You know, she's switching chins every other shot. So this is more the correct chin. This is definitely not. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to go like this. Control C, go to the next drawing, Control V, yep, I like that. Go to the next drawing, Control V, and this one we're going to have to adjust a little bit to accommodate that curve. And here, we probably could keep it, but just to be safe, it might be prudent to chop it in. Okay, and this is why I do a lot of cutting and pasting, is because I just don't want to be naive. The truth is, you're never going to draw the same thing twice perfectly. Some people can, maybe Glenn Keane can, maybe Milt Kahl could, but I can't. So, why pretend, you know? Okay, so now we've got this level that has the mouth in it. Well, it purports to be the mouth. I think right now I'm going to turn the background off because it's really distracting me. Okay, so this is called mouth, but the truth is we've got these mouths here, and unfortunately these mouths... Okay, let me see what's going on here. Okay, so this is again a really poor planning on my part. It's kind of embarrassing. If I wasn't the boss and the boss was standing over my shoulder, I'd be a little embarrassed right now. Because if you're going to be animating her eyebrows, why the heck do you have her eyebrows baked into this drawing, but then you've also got eyebrows here on a separate level? What are we doing? Are we doing it this way or are we doing it that way? Well, in this case, frankly, I'm okay with baking them in. I do see a problem, by the way, with the shadow right here. Let's grab the shadow color and the paintbrush and just fix that. Okay. But essentially, I want to match this on all these frames. So as far as I'm concerned, this level is deleted. It's not doing anything for us. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually try to match those eyebrows. And they don't have to be perfectly perfect, but they need to be kind of sort of close. Whoa, sorry. To be accurate, we are using the brush, not the paint brush tool. Okay, so now what I want to do is, my normal practice is just to do a lot of flipping. Now if I wanted to be super careful, especially if I was married to these eyebrows and convinced that they were the best thing ever, which they're not. Excuse me. Frankly, I like the new ones better. Okay, what happens if we do this? Yeah, that's a little bit lighter color. So, unfortunately... Okay, I gotta do something cranky here. I need to do a freehand fill of the lines. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these outlines and changing them from this color to this color. As you can see, that is doing violence to the previous outlines, but in a way that's good, because then by just making this adjustment here, I can see that the color for this quote-unquote ink pencil actually needs to be something like that. Okay, so now we're really banking on the fact that her looking annoyed is going to carry the day, because obviously we have some changes there. Once she launches into motion, though, I mean, you're going to go from this to ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. That's what's really going to happen. These two shots are going to go by really quick. So if there's a little difference between them, that's okay. That's okay. But getting back to what I was saying about earlier drawings versus later drawings, if I'm not mistaken, all of this art was originally exported out of Blender. And not only have my skills improved since doing this, but also her look has evolved a bit. Which is really dangerous. So I really hold out the conceit that I may decide to completely redo this shot later. The reason I'm doing it now, as you see, is essentially for the practice. You know, the way I've looked at this is getting through this first 5 or 6 minute sequence of the show is very much an education. And once I get through this first sequence, I would expect to have not only the workflow figured out so that so some of these mistakes, you know, don't continue to repeat themselves, but also there's little doubt that I'll be going back and revisiting some of the stuff that was done earlier. Okay, so now we have the same problem again. This is not a bug, but it's a behavior of OpenTunes. Is that OpenTunes always, I don't even know the exact circumstances under which it happens, because I don't remember switching away from this level, but the upshot is if I'm using this color and I switch to this level and then I come back here, it always switches to color _1, always. So then you get a situation like I just had, where now I need to go and do that fill operation again, because I need to take everything I just drew and switch them to the other palette entry. Now I'm glad that we can. I'm glad there's a way to do it, as opposed to trying to erase. Because if I had to erase, this would really stink, because here's the one that's actually the problem. It would really stink because I would have to erase everything, because these eyebrows are in the same level as the rest of the drawing. So I would actually have to erase everything and completely redraw this. And now you've got this drawing that looks and feels like just a patchwork. We're close to that as it is, actually. We're definitely close to that. But I think we're okay. Now, why, I wonder... Okay. Welcome to the real world, Dave. Okay, what just happened? I just realized that my eye highlights are all going to disappear when I render if I use this to clamp the shadows to her body. Why? Because if you multiply white by the background color behind it, what do you get? You get the background color behind it, because anything multiplied by 1 is 1. When you multiply with black, it darkens it. If you multiply with white, it doesn't. That means that I either need to bake the whites of her eyes, the specular highlight, into the main drawing, or I need to go ahead and put it in a separate level altogether. On balance, that's basically a good thing. Not the end of the world. This is set to lines and areas, so it's going to erase everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this out while I'm here. Fine-tune a bit of shadow material. I must say that a size of 8 on this paintbrush feels pretty good. Okay, so now we've got another glitch. How the heck did I miss that? Alright, unfortunately, golly. Well, this is what I mean by patchwork. Control C. If you're going to do a bunch of cutting and pasting, you really want to do it at the pencil test stage, right? Because, so in other words, when you go to do the ink, you're pretty much, this is what it's going to be. If not, you can wind up with having to make a bunch of changes at the ink stage, which, as you can see, is you get exactly what you see right here, which is a lot of patchwork. Patchy, patchy, patchy. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. This one goes by really quick, so I can hide it like that. No problem. But for me as a cartoonist, animator, whatever you want to call me, the question becomes, what do you want to be spending your time on? How do you want to be spending your time? Do you want to be spending your time just cutting and pasting and fixing and patching and fixing and patching some more? Or do you want to spend your time creating stuff? Okay. You have to have both. You do have to have both, definitely. But with some better planning, you can avoid some of the litany of tweaking I'm finding I have to do. Now, I'm going to just do a little erase back into that. Okay, that looks okay. So let's go to the next drawing. And again, I'm just going to carpe diem here and take the opportunity to build some better shadowing in around her eyelids, so that's fine. Okay, so now we got rid of the specular highlights. The question is, where are we going to put them? The obvious, easy solution is to just put them in a different layer, and I'm just going to go B key. Okay, and we're going to call this spec. Specular highlights. Can you believe it? Can you believe I'm actually going to put the specular highlights in a separate level? Well, I am. Now, and I think I'm just going to do it with the paintbrush. Paintbrush tool. Whoops. Don't like that. Okay. Okay, right here, we're going to have to add a new drawing. Oh, wait. Control Z. Actually, it's not Control Z. It's just C. Okay, so now just by, since I was in the wrong column, that's why I had to redo it. Okay, just by starting to draw in the specular level, okay, what it should do is create a new drawing. What it is doing, as you can see here, is precisely nothing at all, which is a little strange. Definitely. So let's turn this off and see how badly screwed up we are at this point. I'm seeing some pretty freaky stuff here. Let's just double check our preferences. Drawing, use X sheet as animation sheet. That's what's supposed to happen. What that means is, if I start drawing, I know what it is. Golly, this is just, okay. If there's a takeaway lesson here, this is it. Ready? The paintbrush tool does not create a new frame. Is that a bug? No, but it is a flaw. There's two things. There's actually three things I'm going to make a note of that I'm going to mention to the... So far, I've never contacted the OpenToonz developers, and I haven't made a serious bid at setting up a development platform on this machine in order to build OpenToonz myself. I've thought about it. Main reason I haven't done it is because Microsoft Visual C is like its tendrils reach deeply into everything about your system, and it's a very intrusive. I wish that OpenToonz had been built successfully by somebody with like GCC or something like that, where not that the open source compiler is better or anything. Visual C++ is a very respected platform for development, but I like when my applications are self-contained. When they keep their preferences in simple text files, INI files or whatever, you know where those preferences are. Preferably the file formats are text as well. So basically when you have to fix things, it's easy. Or when you have to move things. What if I took my whole development environment and moved it to another machine? I just want to copy it. I want to put it on a stick and move it over there, and it just works. There's no reason you should have to go through an install process. It's really ridiculous at this point in time. But anyway, what do we see here? First of all, the paintbrush tool does not create a level. Or not a level, really a new cell. It doesn't create a drawing. Okay, so this gets back to what I was showing. If I had hit the brush tool and hit boop, see, it just created a drawing. So now I'm fine. Now if I want to use the paintbrush tool, I can just switch back to it. Boom, boom. But in my view, that's a little bit silly. Okay. So I need to do the same thing again, which of course puts a mark that I didn't really want there. But that's okay. It's not a horrible thing, but in all reality, the paintbrush tool, as opposed to the brush tool, the paintbrush tool should create a new drawing just as readily as the regular brush tool does. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Now there were a couple, oh yes, when you, this is what I think, when you switch drawings, like right here, if I hit the Q or the W key to switch drawings, okay, if I change this drawing, what I think should happen is from here down to the next specifically placed drawing should be the new one. It shouldn't insert one frame of the new one and then switch back to the other. Why would it assume? I'm just trying to think, when would you ever want that behavior? Now, I don't have a problem with the rippling. So in other words, if I drag this down, everything ripples. It'd be nice to be able to hit shift or something and have rippling not happen. But it seems to me like this should all be one. Now, this should all be drawing one. When you change a drawing, all subsequent, and that's with the Q or the W keys, all subsequent drawings should be the new one. Not one frame, then back to the previous drawing. So now these things are not bugs. They don't crash the program. They're just, it's kind of like things that make you go, By the way, I didn't want that in there. So now I've got my specular highlights. Cool. And seems like things are pretty much behaving. To be fair, I must say that on balance, I think the shadow should actually be darker again. So I'm going to select the shadow color, turn its alpha up a little bit. Okay, that seems to be about right. And so let's stretch this down to here. And holy cow, all of that just so we could insert one tween. Okay. Okay, this is definitely not fast enough. Okay. Still not fast enough. This action should be vroom, vroom. So I'm going to put it on 3s, but honestly, I have a feeling it's going to look best on 2s. I mean, I'm going to put it on 2s. I think this is crazy. Why fiddle with it? Yeah, and then we'll have a good pause at the end for Mr. Ninja Guy to sort of take in what's happening. So I'm just going to stretch that down to the bottom. And so this should be our shot, other than her mouth, obviously. Okay. So now we've got mouth. So that should be stretched down to here. Except we need to hit the D key, and I'm going to basically just delete that. So now what this is a duplicate. And the reason we need a duplicate is because when we get to here, what we really need to do is move her mouth. So let's grab this. Okay. All right, and I gotta double check my lip sync. Yeah. Okay, and this should really be the... Okay, and of course... Honestly, this whole sequence needs to be deleted. So, this is again the problem with the way the rippling choices that OpenTunes makes are definitely a bit irritating. So we go from here to here. So this needs to be 26. Okay, but it can't be 26 unless this one's switched to 25. And then we can stretch that down to there. And then 26 we need to move to there, and then we'll go duplicate like that. Okay, that's fine. And of course, as we can see, her nose has disappeared here as well, which is a problem. I mean, is it really a shadow problem? Let me see. That's actually a super good question. It's both. It's both. I think what I'll do is, just to play it safe, I'm gonna just steal it from each of these shots. So oh golly. Of course now I can't see through it, so there's absolutely no way this is going to be positioned the right. It's like I'd have to use markers to get it positioned properly. Okay, I got lucky. That's a dumb problem to have, isn't it? Okay, so now I'm just going to grab this, go to the next drawing, paste over it. Okay, we can't do that, so erase. And let's try that again. S key, Control C, next drawing, there it is. Okay, let's go to the next. The next is kind of sort of okay, although this is a tad objectionable, isn't it? So yeah, like I said, you're going to have getting stuff up to scratch is not just a 5-minute operation. Okay, so now here I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of erasing back into this. Okay, and if we're going to remain consistent, what we really need to do is grab this, and we got to use the regular brush. Let's switch this to this brush. Okay, now it seems to be working, so that's good. Okay, that's probably okay. Let's try to give that a little bit of a point as well. Come on. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Again, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You know, I'm spending hours, it feels like. It's not really hours, but it feels like I'm spending hours just dinking around with minutia. And I hate it. I hate dinking around with minutia for on and on and on and on and on. And there's only one reason that happens, and that's because of carelessness earlier in the process. Or usually it's because you get eager and you start taking steps prematurely. I mean, completely my fault, definitely. Whoops. Okay. Okay. Nah. This one will be okay. This one I can just leave. Add a little bit there. And we're in good shape. Okay. I definitely want to pick up a bit of the shadow on the eye itself. Okay. Yeah, an hour and 10 minutes now. That's, I shouldn't complain. Yeah, so it took an hour and 10 minutes to generate, the in-betweens and to complete a shot. That's really not that much. Okay, I can see something here that needs to happen. Let's go back to here. What the heck is that? Okay, so let's go here. Hit the eraser. I'm just gonna settle that down a little bit. Frankly, let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, yeah, that's okay. So I'm gonna just say that her whole shoulder there is probably too bulky. Now I can get away with it. I'm erasing the outline too, and that's okay because it's against a dark background, so you can't really see the fact that the outline isn't there. But yeah, that looks okay. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that Akari's look has actually evolved, and that's definitely a little bit embarrassing to acknowledge because it means that there are things in this show that seem to be changing a little bit as we charge through. I'm seeing an issue here, by the way. Yeah, right here on this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and use the... Oh, come on. God, I hate that. Hate the way it always switches to the default brush. That right there is why I'm interested in getting involved with OpenToon's development, because just stupid stuff like that. It's like, really? How hard is it to keep track? There's a ton of data associated with a level. How difficult is it to keep track of one little tiny piece of data that says what was the last brush index that you used when you were on that level? When you click back to that level, go back to the same brush you were using before. That should be the default. I can't imagine. I mean, there's maybe other choices you could make. If two levels had the same palette, maybe it would assume that you want to use the same palette entry of the last level you had selected or some goofy thing like that. But the idea of always switching back to color_1 as the default, I've never one time had a situation where I was painting or inking with anything other than color 1. Any of them. Take your pick. I've never had it happen one time. Not once in 6 months. Where I've got this color selected and I go do something else in another level, and when I come back to this level, I want this color to no longer be selected, but rather have it jump back to the default. Not one time has that ever been a desirable behavior. But there it is. Do not default to color underscore, what is it? Just 1? Yeah. When returning to a level. So yeah, basically the whole process of grokking the OpenToon's code would be, it's just like a whole thing I would have to get involved with, which means I'm not doing animation. I'm dicking around with C++ code. I mean, I like working with C++ code. I've done a lot of programming in my time, but what do I want to be doing right now? Do I want to be doing OpenToons? Or do I want to be programming OpenToons? Good question. Okay, so anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Control R. And now that this is locked in time, I see things I need to change. So, what time is it? 10:14? I think with that I'm going to stop, because basically I have to render this and cut it into the show. So, I think that will do for now. And so there's two steps. I have to fix the shadowing on her hair for this final shot, since it's where she, if it's a little off here, that's okay, which it is. And I can fix it, but I don't have to, because it just goes by that fast. But once you're on this shot, it's, your audience is going to see it. And by the way, yeah, all of her highlights on her hair are disappearing as well, so that's something that's got to be addressed. So anyway, I think that's it for now, and I will probably do more later. Okie dokie.